Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to offer a little update on the debate surrounding the YouGov MRP poll first published by the Telegraph. YouGov have fired back, saying that the analysis was all cobblers, much in line with what I said in the first video today. But the real results are very encouraging for tactical voting. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So I discussed my issues with the Telegraph's analysis of the YouGov poll this morning and said that I suspected it was basically just a Telegraph hatchet job. Then at lunchtime, YouGov confirmed that, yeah, much of the conclusion of the Telegraph were their conclusions based on childishly incompetent analysis. It was nothing to do with YouGov at all. You know, this analysis was carried out largely by David Frosty the No Man. That should come as no surprise that it was made a right arse of. As I said in my earlier video, the big thing that raised huge alarm bells with me initially was the idea that Reform UK would make the difference in 96 seats, but the Tories would still win 169 seats on top of that. And they did this by making Reform UK voters interchangeable with Conservative voters. Now, we know the parties are very similar, really, in terms of the people behind them, but the way they present themselves to voters is not the same. And so their voters, they've got some crossover on the old Venn diagram, but it's, you know, the Reform UK circle is not inside the Conservative circle. There's a bit of an overlap. In fact, YouGov said that their polling had indicated that about 31% of Reform voters would back the Tories if Reform UK didn't stand. That is a far cry from the 100% that the Tory graph were claiming. So straight away, when Tory strategist Isaac Leverdow addresses Tory MPs this evening, which may already have happened, I suppose, by the time this video is published, he can open up by saying, yeah, all that stuff you've been reading in the Telegraph today, it's all rubbish. The polling companies have even said so. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like the YouGov article published today. Like, they often do polls for various people, including newspapers, and then just quietly publish their own article once their client's done so. Of course, bear in mind the Telegraph was not their client. The Telegraph simply were given the data by their client. But this time the article it had their basic review, then it contained several references to conclusions in the Telegraph, and then they said, yeah, this is all wrong. This isn't us. That was them that did that, not us. And it showed just how seriously YouGov are taking their reputation, that they don't want to be associated with the drivel being reported. That's encouraging because YouGov have a very strong reputation amongst polling analysts for the quality of their MRP polls. And with the full data tables now available for perusal, there are some really interesting little details. The biggest of which was pointed out by Sam Friedman. He noted that even in the seats the poll has the Conservatives winning, they're doing by fairly small margins. There are not even 40 seats where they have a 10-point lead over the second place challenger. Do you know what that means? 10 points is within tactical voting range. In reality, tactical voting could beat any realistic majority, but we also know from a practical point of view, you can't actually marshal all of the potential tactical votes in a constituency and get behind the right candidate. But a strong local campaign can absolutely do so for a 10-point margin, because you can persuade apathetic voters that their vote really can count this time. Sometimes you get huge majorities in places just because a lot of people who would vote for someone else don't turn up because it's a safe seat, it doesn't matter what I vote for. And, you know, in a way that is right. But if they were to all act in concert, it wouldn't be right. You know, so people will look at a gap between Tory challenger and conclude, no, that's too steep a mountain to climb. But 10 points, no, that's sprint range. And I've been spending most of this afternoon number crunching with the data tables as well. The benefit is that it gives tactical vote campaigns around the country some really useful data for working out which areas have an obvious tactical vote. Little caveat, as always, because it's based on new boundaries, there's going to be a larger margin for error than you might normally expect. So a little bit careful. There will be the odd constituency, some people have already pointed one out to me, the odd little constituency where it doesn't look quite right, but by and large, this is giving some really useful information. But the point is that the majority, the clear, like over three quarters of those 169 seats that this poll thinks the Conservatives will win are actually still vulnerable. I mean, you look, 169 seats, that is the Tories losing nearly 200 seats. It's actually them losing 191 seats, right? And you think, oh, that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible for the Tories. But then you say, oh, these 169 seats the polls say you'll win. Yeah, it's only fairly sure you'll win in a quarter of them. The other 3/4 of them are still for the taking. You know, that's what it's saying. That is what the real poll says. Never mind the Telegraph. The trick will be in the balance between conservative don't knows and tactical votes. Because we know there are a lot of 2019 Conservative voters who are currently saying don't know. They haven't just gone elsewhere. At the moment, they're saying don't know. Don't know doesn't mean won't vote. Some of them won't vote. Some of them will decide actually they can't be asked voting for anyone. Some of them will, come the election, decide that, oh, actually Labour could be worse somehow, hold their nose and vote Conservative. We don't know how many. Now, set against this, there will be people in constituencies where the Conservative candidate is the favoured candidate who will be motivated to vote tactically to replace them with a progressive choice. It's that balance that will determine these major battlefield constituencies. How many Conservative don't knows will return to the fold to how many tactical votes will there be against them. If the Tories can win back a lot of these don't knows, the Tories could get their 169, maybe even better. If we can generate a real wave of tactical voting, particularly concentrating in Tory seats where they do have that small margin in this poll, never mind the margin from the last election, in this poll, that's the up-to-date one, that could easily reduce them down further. Could be much further. Dylan Difford, whom I've referred to already recently, discovered that if a third of all Labour, Lib Dem and Green voters in constituencies where their party cannot win, but the Conservative is the presumed winner, if they were to vote tactically, the Tories could be beaten down to 69 seats. Happily, this would put them on 1 seat fewer than the Liberal Democrats. That would mean the Tories are not even the official opposition. A third of all these voters in the right seats is a tough ask. But the carrot is a Tory party which is not only not in government, it's not even the main opposition party. Finally, I couldn't sign off without just pointing out a bit of Tory hypocrisy that's been furrowing my brow today. Boris Johnson supporters have been out in force using this poll to show that Sunak is on course for defeat, so they should have stuck with Johnson. Now, Johnson supporters make this argument all the time. If they get caught at traffic lights, they conclude that it's because their colleagues binned Johnson. Never mind the fact that if Tory MPs hadn't sacked Johnson, he was still going to be suspended for contempt of Parliament. They seem to conveniently forget that one. That would have made things way worse for both Johnson and the party. But the basic premise of their whining today is particularly annoying because they're pointing to polling that shows that Sunak is going to lose the election. Yes, and so they should have stuck with Johnson. But polling showed that Johnson was going to lose the election, and it was produced by the same pollsters. The doublethink these people are capable of is maddening. Do these people not bother with milk on their cornflakes? Do they just dribble into it for moisture instead? But I digress. The take home from this poll, the real poll, is that tactical voting can be very impactful in a lot of seats. A lot more than I thought. And there is a possibility, a challenging possibility, but a possibility that the Tories could be beaten into third place in Westminster after the election with tactical voting. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.